What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Preach Culture podcast. We're super excited to be here for you guys and finally get this podcast series started off. Right now, our tentative date is to release this first episode on Friday, July 3rd, and then it'll be followed every Friday by a new episode. Today's topic is the job dead or is the culture dead? Once we finish this episode, the next 7 episodes we'll have following this one, we'll be covering all of the 7 pillars of Firehouse culture. We'll kind of dive deeper into them and get some good discussions out of them. We'll start with a little bit of intro before we jump into it. I know you guys don't know myself or Gene very well yet. So, Gene, who are you? Why'd you start in the fire service? And tell everybody how we met.
Absolutely. Hey guys, I'm Gene. I have been working in the fire service for 18 years now. Kind of stayed steady when I was 18 years old, decided I wanted to be a fireman. Really, at the beginning, it wasn't something that I immediately knew out the gate. I just knew that I wanted to help people. I wanted to find something that had a really good purpose, and I kind of got exposed to the helping people side of it really early on, and made the decision to start applying, and got lucky and got hired on my first attempt, which was amazing. I've been working with Russell for 9-10 months now.
Yeah.
He transferred over to my crew. We got a crew of 12. We got a pretty big, it's 11 right now, soon to be 12. We've had some great conversations. We're very similar mindset. Love the fire department, love everything about it, want to make it better. And, we're here trying to do that, especially in the culture area.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm Russell. I've been in the fire service going on 8 years now. And I kind of have the opposite story. I didn't get in the fire service because I wanted to help people. I got in the fire service because I needed a job at the moment. And somebody asked me to apply and said they could get me hired, and I needed money. I needed a career. And I think about 6 months into it is when I started to fall in love with it.
Yeah.
And now I can't see myself doing anything else. This is awesome. So that's why I joined the fire service. It wasn't based out of a need to help people. It was I needed a job, I needed an income, and then everything else came with it. And now I love it. So yeah, me and Gene met. I transferred from another department up here to where he's at. And he is currently my sergeant at my station. And dude, we just started bouncing ideas off of each other. And we realized we think pretty similar. We agree on most things. As the podcast progresses, you'll see we don't agree 100% on everything.
Yep.
But that's why we have good conversations. We get to see each other's sides and bounce ideas off of each other, man. So that's kind of where it started and why we started Preach Culture. We both are pretty obsessed with this job, I would say. We come home from work and we're constantly looking for ways to be better, constantly looking for stuff to bring back to the firehouse, not to just better ourselves, but to better our crews as well. We realized that as a fire service and whole and firemen, we complain about a lot of things, and rarely do we offer a solution to the problems. So there's kind of a better way of attacking problems other than just complaining and moaning about them. If we can provide good solutions to them and a plan on how to achieve those solutions, I feel like we could fix a lot of the cultural issues in the fire department.
Yeah. It's definitely worth talking about for sure.
And I know, at least for me, I had it smacked me in the face when I got up to this new department because we did not have any culture at my old department.
Yeah.
And I found myself being in that circle of complaining and moaning and not offering solutions, and kind of just fell in the cycle everybody else was in. And then when I got up here, it was like the culture was so predominant that I had no other option than to fit in with the culture and
Yeah.
support it. And I absolutely love it. I think that's what I've been missing my whole career, is this sense of culture we have at this current department. And it's been absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
All right. So the topic and the question of the day: is the job dead or is culture dead?
It's a good question. I think culture is very dynamic. I don't think the job's dead. I don't think the job's any different than what it was when we first signed up. There's definitely some differences to it. The overall defining characteristics of our job is still very much the same.
Yep.
We're out there helping people, whether it be EMS runs, fires, cutting people out of cars, all of the things are still basically the same, with the same underlying context. I think the culture has suffered, but I wouldn't even consider it dead. It's just different.
It is different.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think the turning point that made culture start becoming different than what it used to be?
I mean, it's so broad. You run into generational differences. When I came out into the field 18 years ago, I was working with a completely different type of people. Like, we talk about millennials or any other generation. I was the youngest in the department, outside of one guy who was a month younger than me. And when I say youngest, it was 4 to 5 years difference in age. and we didn't hire anybody else afterwards. So I was like the lone person of the
Yeah.
department with just a different mindset. I grew up not, not the same as some of the older generations, obviously. And I think those differences where now I'm starting to see it change more towards the mindset of what the people that are in the department is going to change towards that way.
Yeah.
And what we have to do now is we just have to figure out a way to communicate better. And I think that would help our culture and like that would be the best thing for our culture right now
Yep.
is just communication.
And I think everybody, obviously, like you said, we run a lot more EMS calls now, a lot more assists, a lot more calls that aren't as serious as they used to be 15, 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And I think that people are letting that get to their head and they're comparing the career we have now to the calls that came out 50 years ago.
Mhm.
And it's not the same. Like no matter which way you think about it, there's going to be more of these. There's going to be more of that. We're going to fight less fire because of the protection services that are now in place at all these commercial and apartments and the smoke detectors in homes.
Yeah.
And obviously all the fire safety programs going around. And I feel like people, when they join the fire service, they think it's going to be, hey, I'm just going to respond to fires all day, every day.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there is a lack of education in the hiring process.
Mhm.
And these people are coming in thinking that, oh, yeah, all I'm going to do my whole career is just go to jobs and fight fire. And then they run 8, 10, 12 EMS calls in a shift and it kind of demoralizes them.
Yeah. There's no doubt. The call volume, especially with the EMS related calls that were the catch all
Yeah.
for pretty much anything. If you don't know who to send, you send the fire
Yeah.
department. And it it's definitely different than what a new hire would realize for sure.
Yeah.
What are we doing? This, is this not what I signed up for? Is this different? And again, that's a mindset shift. It again goes back to what I was looking for when I got hired is I came to help people. If I can go to every single call with the context that I'm trying to help somebody,
Yeah.
it changes your viewpoint.
Yeah. And the job is still the same for you as long as you keep that mindset.
Hmm.
And I always wonder what what started it all at departments like my previous department that made the culture so bad and made people hate their job so much. I mean, that job paid a lot more than this department that we're at now pays. Like,
Yeah.
what's the disconnect and what's the issue at departments like that?
Well, that's a tough question. I mean, I think a bad culture is you know, it's it's a disease. It's something that spreads
Yeah.
if you don't control it quickly, or if you can't isolate it to one specific person or one specific thing. It's always what we look for. We look for a reason, right? We're looking for that one exact reason for something to cause a problem.
Yeah.
And because we're problem solvers at heart, but it truly, one person gets a bad taste in their mouth. I think when people get cynical, it is much easier for everybody to jump on that
Yeah.
bandwagon of being you know mad or frustrated, and you have to stop it. And again, the best place to stop it is at the firehouse.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think I heard a lot of the complaints I've heard in my career is, oh, the culture's bad because the command staff doesn't support us. They don't care about us. They don't this and that. But when I dive deeper into it, if we would have supported ourselves at the house before we focused on anything else, I mean, some departments, the command staff may not support you. That doesn't mean your job has to be miserable and your culture has to be miserable at the firehouse.
Mhm.
That's something that can stop at the firehouse and then over time work its way up. If you're nothing but positive and nothing but obsessed and committed to this job,
Mhm.
it's going to be contagious.
Yeah.
I don't care who the people are. They're either going to become part of it and be that way or they're going to quit.
Yeah.
Like we're creatures of habit and people want to join habits that are popular.
Yeah. I think a lot of our higher ups, our command staff, when we start complaining, we think that it's their job to fix every problem that we have.
Yeah.
And I just don't see that as being realistic. They have so many more things going on in their world to think every single problem has to be solved by them. And if we let them do that, or if we have that mindset to allow them to do that, then what are we doing? We're just complaining.
And a lot of the problems we can fix ourselves.
Yeah.
We fail to realize it, myself, and I'm sure you as well. We fail to realize that some of the problems that we complain and moan about,
Mhm.
we can fix. We have the opportunity to fix them as a crew, as a department.
Yeah. A lot of them are handled with really hard conversations.
Absolutely.
You
And
know?
people don't want to have those conversations at all.
Not at all.
One of the best quotes I heard is people don't leave departments, they leave cultures.
Yeah.
You don't leave a department. at the core, all departments are the same.
Yeah.
We respond to the same calls. We hop on apparatuses. Yeah, some may be nicer than the other. This may have better equipment, but at the end of the day, it's the same job, it's the same rigs, it's the same responses, everything like that. We leave the culture.
Hmm. So I know we were talking about, 18 years ago when I started, and I see people now that still work for the department when I started, and the concept of they compare how the fire department used to be compared to what it is now. Like, I don't feel like it's a fair enough comparison. I do think we're running the same calls, but they don't have the ability to look back and see all the bads that was happening when they
Yep.
started either. Because you're not going to dwell on that as much. You're going to remember the good stuff. You're
Yep.
going to
Absolutely.
remember all the good calls, or the fires or all the things. And man, we don't run those near as well. You're not thinking about all the bad that you ran, or all the other things that was going on, all the admin issues that you had back
Yep.
then. You're dwelling on just the glory and not talking about everything in the whole. So it's really hard to compare what used to be
To
in your
what it
fire
is now.
department compared to what it
The
is.
world's a different place. We're hiring
Yeah.
different people. I feel like one speed bump we got to get over is the newer generations. Like, you can't. Every generation that comes along, your generation is different than mine. Mine's different than the generation that's coming after me. We got to figure out how to instill, I call it the why we do this job, the why we respond to the calls,
Hmm.
the why that gets us up in the middle of the night fired up to run that fire.
Yeah.
We've got to find a way to instill that in the newer generations. We can't just beat them down and be like, "Oh, you don't know how to run a chainsaw. You're worthless to me." Da, 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 da. Like, this new generation, a lot of them don't know how to run a chainsaw. They weren't taught the same things that I was taught, or you
Mhm.
were taught, or the people before you were taught. And we got to find a way of making them feel included and getting them fired up about this job, including them in the culture.
Yeah.
Because in 30 years, those are going to be the people running this department.
Yeah. Everyone can complain. It's quick and easy to complain, but your job at the fire station is to teach and to train.
Yep.
So somebody showing up not knowing how to do something doesn't mean that they're a failure.
No.
It just means that you haven't taught them yet. And that's the mindset that needs to happen.
Now, when you said earlier that we're scared to have tough conversations,
Hmm.
what are some of those tough conversations that we can have at the firehouse daily or weekly that can improve our morale and our culture?
Well, I think the tough conversations that can improve morale and culture, um, I think it's telling people not to complain. I think those are the tough conversations. I think it's easy, especially like going towards the officer mindset. It's much easier to get on board with my crew to say, "Hey, what are you complaining about? I'll complain with you."
Yeah.
And
It's
instead,
contagious when
it
people
is.
complain.
It absolutely is, because if I disagree with you now from that concept, it feels like it's you versus me.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of our officers realize how shifting that mindset happens, how having those conversations, listening to somebody, but not having to agree with them. Everyone just thinks that you have to agree
Yeah.
with them and then we get along.
That's the world as a whole now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just not the way.
No.
Not the right way, at least.
The only way we learn and solve problems is by having difficult conversations where not everybody agrees.
Mhm.
And then we can come together on medium ground and figure out solutions to these problems. It doesn't always have to be a me versus you.
Yeah.
I know we've had disagreements. That
Mhm.
didn't mean we sat there and cussed each other out and hashed it out. I listened to what you had to say, you listened to what I had to say, and we found somewhere in the middle
Yeah.
that we could both meet and figure out the solution to these problems.
Yeah.
And we lack that a lot in the fire service now.
Hmm. A lot of ego involved in the fire service, because if we disagree, that means one of us is wrong, and you're going to fight to make sure that you're not wrong, and I'm going to fight to make sure I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And the reason why we don't want to be wrong is because it hits our ego.
Yeah.
If you can't check your ego, if you can't stop thinking through that of it's okay to be wrong.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, then I'll learn and I'll figure it out. But I'm not going to fight just because I don't want to be wrong.
Yeah.
That's the wrong mindset.
And I think some of the biggest people and the best officers I've had in the fire service were always the first ones to be like, "Hey, I screwed that up," or "I wasn't right in this situation. I listened to so and so, and hey, let's try this now." It takes a big man to be able to check the ego, like you said.
Officers, chiefs, whatever it may be, they feel like the apology makes them lesser of a person,
Yeah. Or lesser of a leader.
lesser of a leader. It
Yeah.
hurts that leadership. And the truth of the matter is, if you apologize and you understand the amount of respect that gives from the people
Yeah.
that you're talking to, it really like it's amplified. It says, you know what, I can mess up too.
Yeah.
Because if you aren't comfortable messing up and I'm your officer, then I'm failing as the officer. I'm not allowing you to mess up. I expect perfection. Expecting perfection is the right way to do it.
It'll never work, especially with new guys. We can't, when they come in the door, we can't have this expectation that, all right, we got this brand new rookie. It's his first shift. He did 16 weeks at the training academy.
Yeah.
He's going to know all of this.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're supposed to screw it up. But if we screw it up at training, we screw it up at the house. That's what builds that perfection when we make it to on-scene calls and stuff. So I wrote down a couple reasons of why I think fire departments now are struggling.
Yeah.
That's obviously going to be retention. It's going to be morale, and it's going to be training.
Okay.
I think that one of the biggest things between our generation and the generation that used to be of the fire service, when it was volunteers and very underpaid people, is those dudes showed up to the firehouse on their off day because they wanted to be there. They showed up to calls off duty because they wanted to be there. And now as a fire service, if we have to do some kind of training on Saturday morning, we complain because we wanted to sit at the firehouse all day and do nothing.
Yeah. So
that's a very big shift that we've had as far as culture and training. Is 50 years ago, the guys wanted to train. They wanted to be the best they could be. And now a lot of people, I wouldn't say all, but a lot of people treat coming to the firehouse as their day off.
Yeah.
Like, I want to take a nap. I want to watch TV. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I feel like that causes a big issue in the fire service, and especially with morale. You get all the crews on one shift that show up lazy and don't want to do anything, dude. That kills the culture on that shift.
Yeah, the work-life balance. I always talk about this. The work-life balance is important. If you're showing up to the station expecting it to be your time off, then you might have something going on at home. You know, you might need to check something there or figure it out, because that atmosphere that you're creating, that I expect to come in and get my bunk, that's going to be contagious. That's going to show that new guy that you're supposed to be a mentor or model for, that's acceptable and that's okay.
Yeah.
Now, again, there's some days where you absolutely can come in and say, hey, I had a rough couple days off. I need a couple hours. I need to crash. But that's a conversation that you have. It's not just something that you come in and expect to do.
Everybody has a rough day at home sometimes, and sometimes you do need to rest. And I feel like once we get into the pillars of culture, we start doing the episodes and diving into them, everything is really going to tie back to the term legacy, and whether we instill that term in these new guys or not. Because when I think legacy, I don't think when I retire, like, I don't think of people bringing up my name in 20 years, oh, Russell was this, Russell was that. To me, the legacy is when I leave that department and people still do the things that I taught them or that I'd instilled in them, and they're passing that along generation to generation to generation. And if we teach those rookies that, it gives them the mindset that the whole time they're going through learning this, learning that, training, pushing hard, staying up past when they want to go to bed, in the middle of the night, they realize there's a purpose to it, and they're going to continue to push that on all the rookies they have underneath them. And in 30, 40 years, we're still going to have rookies out there stretching lines in the middle of the night, chasing perfection and missing those mistakes that we make in training on the fire scenes.
Yeah, for sure. I've got one thing, and you can answer this. I don't think I've asked you this question, but from the department that you were in, was it normal for crews to stay together their careers?
So not careers, no.
Okay.
And it was a very political and cliquey department. So I had a solid crew for 6 years there, and our crew ended up getting on the nerves of some people we shouldn't have got on their nerves, and their retaliation was, we're going to break them up and send them to 8 different stations. So is it something we probably could have avoided? Yes. Is that the right way to deal with those things, to break crews up and kill the morale? No.
So did you know of anybody in your department that could have stayed at one station for their entire career?
No.
See, I think that's a big thing that's changed from, back when, or, some of the bigger departments that we all talk about, but that's not something that happens, at least not in our department. Now, granted, we're a county department. We're protecting like 400,000 people, but we're growing at a rapid rate.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of changes that happens. Like that, I understand that there's going to be crews, people that promote off your crew, people that are coming in, to, things that are moving. That happens, but I want to say back in the day, that was something that didn't happen as often.
Yeah.
People were able to harbor those relationships with their crew members a lot more. Like, I think that's something that struggles right now, is people don't want to commit that off time. You were saying going to the station, but even the off time of spending time with their crew members
family events, baseball
family.
games, stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that doesn't happen near as often as it did, and I think a lot of it's because the crew integrity, not because we choose it, but it tends to, okay, well, I'm gonna have this guy in my crew for maybe a couple years, so how much time am I really gonna invest?
And I'll never see him again because they swap on shifts.
Right.
What do you think the solution? What kind of solution can we offer to crew integrity and keeping crews together longer?
I don't know if we have a solution to keep them together longer. I think that's kind of happenstance. I think promotions happen. I think crews break up. I think what requires from us is the intentionality. It's not getting deterred just because somebody leaves. Like now that I've refocused on that, I tend to realize that if I'm committed with a crew, that's the crew I want to spend time with.
Yep.
But I forget sometimes that some of the guys that I used to work with are people that I need to keep up with too. So it takes a lot of intentionality for
Absolutely.
me to keep up with the guys that I used to work with,
Yeah.
because we're still working for the same department.
Yeah.
Just because you're not in my crew doesn't mean it's not somebody I want to keep up with.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
And I think that's another thing we can instill to new members on the crew. Like if I left today and you guys got somebody to take my place,
Mhm.
it may not be the same. You're not going to know how he trains, how he works out, what his intentions are, what he's good at, what he's bad at.
Mhm.
But if we're intentional about making him part of the crew and instilling that crew integrity and that crew pride, like I've been at specialty houses my entire career. And of course, when a new guy would come in, my immediate thought would be, oh, he's not one of us. Well, he's not one of us because we haven't made him one of us. And that's part of our job as well. Yeah, it's serving the citizens, but it's growing our crew, it's building our crew. And I feel like we lack a lot of intention when we do get these new people of making them one of us at the station.
Yeah, for sure. And, it comes into personality traits. Everyone's going to have different personality traits. It's really easy to get into what we call a clique of, hey, we're all this type of personality. That person doesn't really mesh well, socially awkward, whatever the case may be. But especially as you go up through leadership, as mentoring at any level you can lead, but you've got to realize and set your differences aside and still include them. Like,
Yep.
it doesn't matter if they're different. It
Yep.
doesn't matter if they do something different. It's still going to include, and you just have those hard conversations. It really boils down to that.
And you think it's something as simple as being on a truck.
Mhm.
Like when we both came through recruit class, we weren't truck guys. We had no business being on a truck. But at some point in our career, a number of individuals took their time and instilled this and trained us on this and took time on this to bring. But if that's their career goal, let's pour it into them. Let them have it.
Yeah, I will say, like, early on in my career, I came up, the first station I was assigned to, it was a truck house. Now it was a manpower unit. We call it a truck. I don't think we'd purchased our first aerial yet. It was in the process.
It's back in the horse and cattle brigade days.
Right. Absolutely. But a lot of people was really not happy. It was me and one other guy from my recruit class that got sent to the station.
Okay.
The station was more of a manpower station anyway, so they needed the people, but they didn't think that, I had proved myself. It
Yeah.
wasn't something I deserved to be, and a lot of people were frustrated at.
Yeah.
And I could see that. Like, I didn't pick my assignment. I don't know how I got there. It's
Yeah.
just where I was assigned.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, there's a lot of distaste from
Oh, I'm sure.
the department for
So
sure.
I know I kind of had the same story when I came out of recruit class. I got sent to the heavy rescue house and we had the tailboard on the heavy rescue was out on FMLA for 8-12 weeks,
Mhm.
which put me on the heavy rescue. I had no business being on that unit.
Yeah.
Now my crew made me feel included and they taught me what I need to know. They sent me to the classes. They invested in me,
Mhm.
but it left a bad taste in everybody else's mouth. It's like, who's this rookie who's on the heavy rescue?
Yeah.
But my crew took that time. I wasn't one of them. I came in with no knowledge, no specialty classes, and those dudes were all jam up, dude. They had all the GSAR stuff. They were ready to roll.
Yeah.
And they instilled that in me, and that's what made me who I am today. Is they took that chance, they made me feel included, and they put the passion and the fire in my butt.
Mhm.
And I really appreciate that to this day.
Yeah, the crews that we have, they can instill things. They can make every bit of difference in our careers and our paths. Like, sometimes you're just, you're blessed with a good assignment and you get a good crew, and sometimes you're not. And I've worked at multiple. It sounds like you had a great crew at your old department. I've had many crews at my department, going from great to, not so heavy in the training, or, I've gone from a crew of 2 to a crew of 12.
Yeah.
So like the diversity is insane.
Yeah.
And what you see again, you've got to be that person that you want to represent your department,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think the first step in changing the culture or brainstorming a new culture for the department is having the hard conversation with yourself
Yeah.
and looking in the mirror. Am I doing everything I can to accomplish X, Y, and Z? Because 99% of the time, we can pick something out that we're not doing correctly. Looking in the mirror and being tough on yourself.
Yeah.
If you have a mentor, going to your mentor that you really admire and being like, hey, this is my goal. Tell me, what am I lacking? What am I doing wrong? And let them have that tough conversation with you.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you think the biggest issue in fire department culture is right now? One thing.
One of the biggest issues right now in the culture, I would say it's the brotherhood. It's the concept that, I've got life at home and I've got life at work, and those are two separate things. And I see a lot of people just don't blend the two. But every time that I have been on crews where home life is included with work life, so much better.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If you could provide if you had to give advice to a firefighter,
Mhm.
the first step to fix that problem, what would you tell them that the first step would be?
Get uncomfortable. If you're not
I like that.
uncomfortable, you need to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. You can turn a crew you can walk into a new crew and be like, I don't like any of these guys. But if you do it correctly and get uncomfortable, like you were saying,
Yeah.
they can turn out to be the best friends you ever had in your entire life.
Yeah.
If you give it a shot.
Yeah.
And that requires you being uncomfortable.
This is one thing I want to say. Like, we talk about like crews that are not what we would call ideal.
Yeah.
I promise, like, if you walk in there, none of those people decided to come in that day and screw up the fire service. They did not come into their shift saying, I want to make this
Today's the day.
today's the day I'm screwing everything up.
Yeah.
And if you lead with that and you know that they don't have those intentions, because if anybody has those intentions, I'm sorry, find another job. But that can guide you to say, I might not agree with all these things and I'm not going to agree with everything, but I can start from somewhere.
Yep. 100%. I know when I walked into our station for the first day, my old crew was a bunch of type A, full alpha bulldogs, ready to fight, ready to be confrontational, XYZ, which I got along with great.
Yeah.
And then I come to the house we're at now, and we have a whole diversity of personalities. And that was very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
It's like there were 3 or 4 of y'all that I'm like, all right, our personalities are pretty freaking similar.
Yeah.
Then there was 6 or 7 that I'm like, I don't even know how to talk to you guys. And that was very uncomfortable for me.
Mhm.
But like you said, once I got uncomfortable, it drew me towards those people.
Yeah.
And now, I love our crew. I think it's great. I love seeing all the guys. I love talking about each other's family. Obviously, there's 4 or 5 of us that we go out and we golf once a month.
Mhm.
So it was very uncomfortable for me coming to this new station and this new department and seeing these different personalities that I had never had to work with before.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Now, you've been talking about brotherhood. Define brotherhood in 1 or 2 sentences. What is brotherhood to you?
Brotherhood is finding the ability. Like, I didn't have any siblings growing up, so in my mind I've always been looking for those friends, those best friends that we're going to talk about, do stuff with, that we're going to pour ourselves into. And I think a lot of people get uncomfortable in the department and not leaning towards that brotherhood because they've already got brothers or they've already got families.
I've got friends outside of work.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
got friends outside of work, or going back to the crew integrity is not as solid anymore because, well, why am I going to devote my time into you when a couple years you're not going to be here or I'm not going to be here,
Yep.
whatever the case
Yep.
might be. And it's like brotherhood. So to go back to the question in a short couple sentences, brotherhood is treating you like family, treating the person that you're working with or
Yep.
people in your department like family.
Absolutely. We do lack that nowadays. And I think you hit the nail right on the head. That's a great explanation of why we lack it and what it is.
Mhm.
Now, let's say you're speaking to a day 1 firefighter or a 1-month firefighter at a new station. He's trying to figure out how to gel with his crew, how to make friends, how to create the brotherhood. What is one thing you think they can do every single shift, or one conversation they can have every shift to kind of become part of that crew and increase that culture?
So you're talking about the new guy?
New
Like
guy.
a
New guy comes in, he realizes the crew's a little bit off. You know, they're not doing X, Y, and Z, but obviously you can't come in gung ho, throwing fists. I want to do this. I want to do that. What's one piece of advice you can give him to create that culture that he wants?
Ask questions. I know a lot of people have the mindset that a new guy needs to come in, shut up, and just do their job, but they need to ask questions. This is their time to ask questions. It needs to be a time where if you're thinking about something and a question doesn't pop in your head, you need to figure out why you're not thinking about questions.
Yeah.
Like you should be asking about, they're going to get multiple questions asked to them if the crew around them has the right culture mindset.
Yeah.
Like we're going to learn about their family. If those questions aren't being reciprocated to every person on their crew, then they're not doing it right.
Talk a little bit about our rookie book. So, backstory, we've got a rookie book at our station, and I think it's one of the coolest things that I have ever seen, and it lets you dive deep into everybody's family, everybody's personal life. That's still the fire service.
It does. It helps make that a little bit easier for someone who maybe doesn't necessarily know how to come in and get personal with people. I mean, that's kind of the best way to put it. Some of the questions lack a little bit of the intention because if you go into it, all right, I just got to check this off. I got to ask these questions. It told me I need to ask you how many kids you have. That's not getting into the emotion of things. That's just, checking the boxes.
It's not. But it's also the guy who's answering the question. If I was the rookie book and I came to you, how many kids you got?
Yeah.
And you just said one. Like, you're doing a disservice to me the same way I'm doing a disservice by coming to you just trying to check a box.
Yeah.
So it's also something that if that rookie is nervous and is like, oh, let me ask him these and get out of here.
Yeah.
You as the senior guy or the sergeant or the lieutenant, whoever's answering the questions, can very easily drag that conversation on and get that guy or girl comfortable.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, what is one thing, last question for you, what is one thing currently in the fire service that you're obsessed with, that you obsess over? You want to be great at it, you want to be the best at it, and you think about it all the time.
Right now it's leadership. I'm sitting in on promotions this year to go for lieutenant, and leadership has been a hot topic for the past couple years for me. It's one of those things that it's hard to define. It's hard to isolate what to get better at, what you're good at. Some people think I've been told that I've had a lot of traits that are really great. Some of them, like I didn't know I was good at. It's just one of those things that I want to know more. So it's been dancing in my brain for a long time because I'm just trying to figure it out.
I think you can always learn more as a leader. Like, I don't think there's anybody in any profession in the world that's like, you know what? I know it all. I'm the best leader I can be.
Yeah.
You can always get better. And I feel like with you trying to promote to lieutenant and then eventually captain, eventually battalion chief, that's awesome. Like, keep diving into it.
Yeah.
You're not gonna do yourself or anybody else a disservice by overindulging in leadership.
Leadership's very organic too, because it's not just about my personality traits, how I teach, how I lead. It's also about, as we were talking about, new generations, new firefighters, what they're taught, what they're coming into. All of those things make leadership organic. It's not just how I teach, it's how you learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I got to be good at all of it,
I think I've been lately a little bit obsessed with obsession in the fire service.
Okay.
And I guess it goes to leadership a little bit. Like, it makes me so happy. Obviously, we taught the rope tech class last week. Like, it makes me so happy going to those classes and seeing everybody who's coming off duty, who's could be at home with their families, but instead, like, I want to do this. I want to learn this.
Yeah.
And I want to figure out and just keep learning on how we can create more and more fire service personnel that are obsessed with the job and they want X, Y, and Z, and they want this to be like their life. They want to be the best they can be in their 30-year career.
Yeah.
So it's cool seeing that stuff.
Yeah. Training has jumped, and again, what we can ask from our department is give us the opportunities. Not everyone at the training is going to be, obsessed.
Yeah.
And sometimes we dwell on that. Sometimes we dwell, well, they're getting exposed to people that are. So it should never stop or hinder us from moving.
No.
Just because we're not having 100% perfect obsession with whatever we're teaching or whatever it is. I see a lot of people get defeated if it's not that way every single time.
And we're not gonna fix everybody when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But if you take 10 of us in a room, 9 of us are obsessed and the most happy people to be at the firehouse for 24 hours.
Yeah.
After a couple of weeks, that 10th person is either going to leave because he doesn't fit in, or he's going to change and be like, all right, these guys look happy. Let me try to think about it this way.
Yeah.
So if we can change a majority, I think everybody else is going to either start to fit in or realize that this career may not be for them.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I feel like we had some good conversation today.
Yeah, let's see.
You have anything else you want to add? Any other notes over there?
Let me see. I think we hit a lot of it. Yeah, I think where we're at, like with culture, I put this in here. It's really good points. It's being consumed faster than it's being created because everyone wants culture to be better. Well, they complain. If you complain about something, that's usually your way of seeing that you don't like the culture. So
You want it to change.
you want it to change. But again, driving back the first point that we made, which is if we can switch that mindset from complaining to fixing or doing anything about it, even if it could be the wrong thing, it's just do something, it never has to be always 100% right. Then we will start generating more culture. It's not a light switch. It's not something that's going to happen quickly overnight. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of progress, and a lot of people, I mean, everyone's ADD these days. It's one of those situations where we expect immediate return on what we did, return on investment of something, and it's not going to happen.
No, not at all.
Um,
But I think it is something, like you said, it's going to take a while to change, but it's something we can change. If we take that first look inside at us
Yeah,
and figure out what we need to fix, and then we come to our crew and just show up to work and be that person
yeah,
after we fix the things we need to fix, we can just portray or project that on everybody else.
yeah. What do you think about social media these days? That wasn't something that was around back, 30 plus years ago.
I feel like social media helps and it hurts. I feel like when we see social media, obviously, like let's say we're at XYZ department, then we're not going to post our invalid assists and our EMS calls and our gas leaks. We're going to post our fires. We're going to post our wrecks. And then somebody in a department that doesn't do as much of that or doesn't think they do as much as that is going to be like, wow, all this department does is X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
When in reality, it's not like that. That's just what they're making it seem like. And it puts us at departments where we're sitting there and we were happy, but then we see this and we're like, oh, I want that. I want that. And in turn, it makes us unsatisfied at the departments we're at. So I feel like social media can help. There's a lot of good training, a lot of good leadership, all that stuff on there, but it can end up hurting us at the same time.
yeah. I also see that social media is a great place for people to post negativity.
Yep.
And usually when somebody posts anything negative, that bandwagon gets jumped on. You'll get thousands of likes and thousands of comments on stuff like that.
People just trying to be popular.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those that's easy to do. Whereas when it's positive, people will, you know, talk down about it. You'll get less likes. It's something that clearly the culture pushes the people that want to be negative more than they want to be positive. And it's kind of frustrating most of the time.
I know on one of our posts, we posted one of our culture comics, and it was two separate crews, a crew that kind of came in and wanted to train, wanted to do this done or get this done. They were in uniform. They were happy, ready to go. And the other half of it was three guys that looked sloppy at work. They didn't want to do anything. They just wanted to go home or watch TV when they were there. And we had comments on that. Like, I'd rather be the crew on the right. You need to take a look in. Like, if that's how you want to do this job might not be for you.
Yeah, a lot of people like to make those comments just to trigger things anyway. And again, like it's the mindset shift. They're doing it just to be dumb.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's not something that they even agree with.
Yeah.
They just want to say it just to get a rise out of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we chose this job. Nobody made us apply to be a fireman. Nobody's forcing us to continue to be a fireman.
Yeah.
In fact, you can go work 50% of the jobs in the United States and make double what we make.
Yeah.
If you're not happy here and this isn't for you, that's okay. It's not for everybody. Go do something else. Don't ruin it for the rest of us. Don't try to bring us down.
Yeah.
This is what we enjoy to do. It's what we love to do. And we just want to make it better every day we're there.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys.
I think that's about it.
You got anything else?
No, I think it was great.
Well, we really appreciate you guys joining us for the first full episode of the Preach Culture podcast. Next week, we will have episode 1 of 7, going over the 7 pillars of firehouse culture. We're going to dive into ownership, what ownership means, how it affects to the fire service. It should be a pretty good episode. And then eventually, when we get on the same page, we'll be doing that little short 20, 30-minute episode with the Front Seat Academy. He'll be talking a little bit about what he does, what leadership and culture means to him. That way we can kind of connect with people around the country and see how different it is on the West Coast versus the East Coast, and how can we come up with a program that can help everybody ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. And, follow us on social media too, Facebook, Instagram. Drop some comments on some of the clips that we've got, some things that you want to talk about, some things that, maybe you disagree with. We'll talk about it on here.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's no egos here. If you disagree, let's have a conversation about it. You may be right.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
we appreciate you guys tuning in, man. We'll be back next week, and thank you guys very much.
All right. See y'all.